Hello, this is Siri and you're listening to my favorite podcast, Not Real Art. I live for this shit cause it's totally lit.
Let's go!
Welcome to Not Real Art, Siri's favorite art and culture podcast with your boy Man One.
Right here with Sourdough.
That's me.
Oh my God, what do we do today?
How are you, Man One?
I'm doing good.
It's been a minute.
Right? Like literally 1 minute. That's what it feels like.
Right.
Oh man.
And yet so much.
And so much in that minute.
Happened.
It's a jam-packed minute. Yeah. A lot of shit happens every day, every week.
You've been busy. You've had several gigs lately.
Yeah, it's been busy. I guess it's always busy.
Yeah.
It's just better when it's busy and you're getting paid.
Yep. It's a 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah. But you know, it's interesting.
Wait a minute. Artists don't get paid? You seem to be implying that artists don't get paid.
You know, it's relative because as I speak to other artists, I find out like what they think is a lot of money or what they think is getting paid or what they think you shouldn't get paid. It's like so sometimes it's just weird. Like I was doing this event the other day and I asked the guy to help us on this part of a tour I was doing. And I wanted to pay him for helping us. And he wouldn't take the money. Like
he was an artist.
Like he's an artist.
Okay.
He's like, I'd rather you guys buy something from the shop. I said, okay, cool. So what's the link? No, the physical shop when you have to come in here and buy something. So I'm like, yeah, but let's just, why don't I just send you some money? You send me some shit,
Right.
No, I just, ethically, I don't want to do it that way. So at the end of the day.
Wait, he said ethically.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like.
Not sure that's a matter of
we
ethics.
didn't have time to go into his shop and buy stuff.
Right.
So it's like, I feel bad because like he got nothing out of it. I mean, I'm still going to go get some stuff myself and support and all that. And he's a good guy. But it's weird how some artists, to me, it's weird. I don't know, maybe to them it's not, but to me, it's weird how like you just can't take money from people or you have some issue with taking money from people. I don't know what that's about, but a lot of artists have that hang up. I don't have that hang up.
So an artist like that, I mean, what does an artist like that think when they see, for example, other artists like your boy Retna, for example, right? Pulls up in his pulls up in his Bentley.
Yeah.
What's the perception of that? What do people think when an artist, whether it's, Cause or Retna or somebody who's doing very well,
right,
pulls up in a gold-plated sailboat?
I don't know. People feel all kinds of ways. I've seen people react like, oh, that guy's sellout or that guy's whack or he's this or that. And then I've also heard, the guy's doing great and I hope to be that successful one day. I don't know. It's all over the place, and then also a lot of hate. You always get the haters,
Sort of the basic human condition of envy and jealousy. Yeah.
Why is he getting paid, not me? Why is he, So
Right.
I don't know. It's a mixed bag with artists, but it still trips me out that artists have this issue with getting paid. Like, I don't know what the issue is. I mean, you have to live. You go to the store, you have to buy the food. No one gives it to you.
Right.
So if your talents could give you money to go buy food at the store, what the hell is wrong with that?
Okay. So let's break it down a little bit because, this is an artist. You were trying to pay an artist for helping you. Okay. So this is
right.
This is an artist trying to help another artist or, whatever.
Yeah.
And so an artist trying to pay another artist. Do you think it boiled down to the fact that it was like what they call professional courtesy? Right. So like in, that phrase in other industries, they'll say, well, out of professional courtesy, we're going to, you're a restaurateur. I'm a restaurateur. You're having dinner in my restaurant. I'm not charging you for this meal. Yeah. Flip side being up someday, I'm going to come to your restaurant. You're not going to charge me for that meal. Was this an element of professional courtesy, artist to artist, or do you think this guy would have behaved the same way if you were a client who had commissioned him?
I think this particular artist truly, has some ethical, standards in how he works or the kind of
projects he's involved in.
Right.
I think he wants. I think he was in the right spirit. Of it,
Oh, sure.
He was being true to himself.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
Right.
But the thing was that I was asking him to help me on something where I was getting paid by another entity.
Right.
So, I don't want to get paid by somebody and then ask someone to do something for free.
Absolutely not.
So for me, it was out of courtesy.
Yep.
You know what? Like, I'm getting paid. You should make a couple bucks too.
Yep.
And that didn't seem to matter to him. Like, it didn't matter if I was getting paid or not getting paid. This is just the way he does things or the way he conducts his business or whatever. And I respect that. That's fine. I don't have no problem with him, being like that and saying those things and having that kind of standard. But it makes it difficult. Maybe he doesn't need the money. I don't know. I don't know his situation. Maybe that's another part of it. Maybe he doesn't need to make money as an artist like that. But the thing is that I just find this thing very difficult, I don't know how do I say it. It's just at odds with where we are as Americans, as people of this world in this time in the 21st century, that you can't just simply
not
just get
paid.
Just get paid. I mean, I don't understand. It's not the Middle Ages. It's not. It's like we live in a world where people get paid for things.
Quid pro quo.
And it's like, why do you make it that more difficult for yourself to get paid?
Right.
And I'm just using this guy as an example, but I see it all over the place.
Yeah.
I wanted to pay a guy the other day, and the guy's like, I don't have a bank account. And I
have
said,
a bank account?
No bank account. And I said, okay, so how do I pay you? He's like, well, just give me a check and I'll go cash it somewhere. Right? I said, well, aren't they going to take some fees and stuff? And he's like, yeah, but I don't want a bank account. I was like, okay. So then I said, well, and I don't want to give you cash because at the end of the year I have to, do my taxes and
accounting.
Stuff. And so it's like, I'm like, I can't pay you cash, but I'll give you a check, but you're going to get paid. You're going to get charged. Okay. I go, what about if I pay you PayPal or some other form like that? And he's like, okay, I'll take Venmo. And I'm like, but you just say you don't have a bank account. He goes, no, then I'll send it to my girl, and then my girl will give me them. I'm like, well, this is complicated. I think banking, where we like in the state of affairs we live at right now, banking has been made so that any freaking person that's over 18 years old can have a system, whether it's digital, whether it's freaking walk up to a bank,
they want you in the matrix as soon as possible.
They've made it as easy as possible for you to participate in the system of banking. Yeah. And there's people who are resisting that for no other good reason. I don't know what the reason is.
So let me ask you a question. So I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase, sort of, you hear it sometimes, it's sort of in the context of people talking about other people and say, well, he's unemployable. She's unemployable.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how good this artist is. And I don't, obviously there's a lot of amazing artists out there who are bad at business, but there are a lot of bad artists out there that are probably also bad at business.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to this and I'm just wondering, like, what percentage of artists are artists because they're unemployable otherwise?
Right.
You know what I mean? No common sense. And, nobody in their right mind would hire them. So they have to do something so they become an artist.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some of these guys become unemployable. I had an artist the other day I met. Those were her exact words. She told me, I am unemployable.
Jeez.
But she teaches, I guess, art classes and stuff like that. Right. And she's a painter, whatever. Yeah. And I also think that she probably has a lot of white privilege and doesn't need to be employed.
Sure.
Sounds like she's doing fine without that.
Yeah.
But that was actually her word. She was like, I'm unemployable. And what she meant by that was she doesn't like to work for other people.
Right.
She doesn't like to be at certain places at certain times when they tell her to be.
She's unmanageable.
Yeah. She's wild.
Yes.
She's untamable. So I think a lot of artists have that too, but I don't know. It kind of gets old, and that was one of the things when I ran the gallery that kind of got just too much, is that every artist had like different needs just on how to get paid, just on how to get paid. Like, here's a check.
Right.
Come pick it up.
Right.
And that became
some difficult task. I was just having a conversation yesterday with some guy who hired me on a gig. And he told me that when he's worked with other artists, he just tells them, just invoice me, and I'll pay you.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't invoice him.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not going to chase you.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't want to get paid, that's all good.
By the way, he would be, smart business people hold on to their money as long as they can.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, guess what? He paid me on the spot.
Right.
Because I showed up with my invoice and did the gig, and he was happy to pay me.
Right.
But it's like, he told me I hire other artists, and like 3 months later, I get this invoice. I'm like, what the fuck is this for?
I have thought long and hard, right, about, and you and I have talked about this so many times, but I've thought long and hard about how we might design a system, some sort of web-based digital system that streamlines this process, right, for artists. But
Right.
Here's the rub. Like, no matter how you slice it, it always bumps into the basic fact that no matter what you do, it's still going to require the artist to input the information into the system.
Right. Exactly.
And push, spend some time, enter it accurately, details, press send.
Right.
And that's really the crux of the issue. Like, no matter how sexy or streamlined or automated that technology might be, it's always about the weakest link. And the weakest link is the human factor.
Yeah. And I was going to say, what the system should be? The system should be, instead of this whole high-tech kind of attitude towards it, flip it and do it low-tech. So the system is, you go to an artist's house with a shoebox, and you tell them to put the money in the shoebox, and then you leave, and then you deposit, you do all that stuff for them. You just show up with the shoebox.
I love it.
And they just put it in there. But you know what? You know what's going to be the problem?
What?
Then they're going to say you're trying to steal their money. And then they're going to come up with some other bullshit about, you're trying to fuck them over somehow with the shoebox. And, so, and at the end of the day.
By the way, where are the shoes?
and at the end of the day, they still have to put the money in the shoebox.
Right. Which implies they actually have the money to begin with.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's no way. I think it's just like whatever. It just boggles my mind when I talk. And it's not that that I hear a story here and there. I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Like 70% of the artists I know have issues with money.
Right.
Like, it's crazy. It's
okay. So, but the flip side is also true, right? I feel like, there are, our culture loves to celebrate these self-made billionaires, the Jeff Bezoses of the world or what have you, right? The Elon Musks of the world, and clearly these guys are doing really interesting things. They're clearly very intelligent people, so on and so forth. And they might be excellent at making money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think more times than not, their personal lives are like shit.
Yeah.
They're divorced, their kids hate them, or maybe they're not married or they don't have kids. They are one-dimensional human being in that they are just, focused on that one thing.
Yeah.
And it's been proven and been talked about. A lot of times these guys they have Asperger's or they are autistic on some level or what have you, because they have, just this this incredible ability just to be, focused to the point of shutting everything else out, So, artists who, some would argue artists are also antisocial.
Yeah, totally.
But artists are creating and they have their issues. And then you have, I guess what it gets down to, like, does genius, if you have a real genius, whether it's for making art or making money, is it possible to have a well-balanced life? Can a well-adjusted, or the flip side, can a well-adjusted person achieve great heights in a field, and still remain balanced and well-adjusted and not sacrifice their relationships or what have you? I don't know. Have you seen the documentary on Netflix about Quincy Jones?
No, I haven't.
Okay. When you get a chance, watch it.
Okay.
It's about 2 hours long. Okay. I mean, you'll love it. You'll love it. And what you'll appreciate about so much, but like, the one thing that and I'm not giving anything away, but like at the end of the movie, they say, is there anything you can't do?
Mm-hmm.
Quincy Jones? Is there anything you can't be successful at?
Right.
And he sort of ponders for a second and looks at the camera. And he goes, marriage. And he laughs.
He's
and
right.
he's fully, he's fully aware that
Right.
he's like, I think he's married and divorced 3 times.
Right.
He's got an amazing, group of kids and, and he clearly loves his kids and,
Yeah.
But when you look at that guy's body of work,
Sure.
something has to give. You can't be on like that all the time. So anyway, I just, artists have their things with money. I think,
Right.
any person of genius dedicated to their work in a single-minded way. But that's not what you're talking about. I think sometimes what you're talking about vis-a-vis artists and money is just that they're very uncomfortable and with this particular subject matter.
Yeah.
For some reason, and they just want to avoid it.
And I'm talking about at the basic level. I'm not talking
like having a checking account.
Like having a checking account. like making it simple so you could pay them. Having a price for a painting when you ask. Simple, basic shit. I'm not talking about running $1 million business. I'm not talking about showing all over the world in multiple galleries. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about simple stuff, When you meet an artist and you say, "Oh, that's a cool painting." "Oh, yeah. It's for sale." And then you say, "Oh, cool. How much is it?" And they're like, "Yeah, I don't know." Well, then how is it for sale if you don't know? Or just make it up. Just fucking make it up. But don't, there's just so many layers. It completely boggles my mind. So like I said, having run the gallery for 10 years, I learned like so much about this topic. And, there was times where there's people that I don't do business with anymore because I discovered how inept they are at business.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, I can't be banging my head against the wall.
Right.
Just to make you money.
It's a love-hate relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's so funny, right? Because we work in the arts, and yet so many of our fellow brethren that we love and respect on a human level, we do not want to work with.
and here's the thing, like, I'm not good at money either. Like, I got a hole in my pocket. I can't seem to keep $1.
I'm
not good at money. I don't know how to freaking balance my account, whatever. So I'm not saying it like that. But it's, there's certain things that I can do.
Well, as artists go, I will just say, and I've known you a long time now, your business acumen is good, if not great, for most people, let alone most artists. So you're not giving yourself the credit that you deserve. But look, managing money. Okay, let's just take it at a high level, right? I don't think most Americans understand about money and how it works and how to manage it. I know I'm still learning. I know I feel like I can't sew the hole in my pocket. Money talks. Mine always says goodbye. The point is that it's not always our fault either, right? Because we live in a culture, capitalistic society that is always about keeping you unhappy with what you have.
Yeah, you want more.
You want more. Spend, borrow, put it on the charge card.
Mm-hmm.
Priceless. That might be $1,000, but owning it is priceless. So we are, we're being brainwashed. We're being controlled and programmed by, our culture.
No, that's completely true. But so so this is one thing I'm struggling with right now. How do you teach your kids to balance their checkbook when people don't have checkbooks anymore? Everything's digital. And you're using Venmo and PayPal and your bank account, and there's money everywhere.
You don't see it.
You don't see it.
Right.
You don't see it. You really don't even know what you have.
Right.
You know when you don't have it, but you don't really know what you. And then there's like, digital subscriptions to everything.
My bank only calls me when there's a problem. Right. They never call me to say, "Hey, congratulations. I see that you have more money in your bank account this month than last month. Congratulations. Keep up the good work." No, they don't call for me for that. They call and say, "You're overdrawn your bank account again."
So this is good. So I used B of A for many, many, many years. Like way more years than I should have, because I fucking hated Bank of America. They suck.
All the banks suck.
All the
I
banks
fucking
suck.
hate them all. I hate them all.
They all
Are there any
suck.
bankers listening right now? Fuck you.
Yeah. So I only do credit unions now.
Yeah.
I don't even I'm tired
Lesser of the evils.
Lesser of the evils. But I remember I had Bank of America for 15 years, and I had 2 businesses on there, savings account, personal account, right? So I had like 4 or 5 accounts for like 15 years. And they would not give me a loan. They said I didn't qualify.
Right.
They said, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I remember every time I'd go in there and they'd give me this freaking thing about like sometimes I'd be overdrawn. And they'd say, oh, yeah, you're getting these fees because you're overdrawn. But if you had a credit line, you wouldn't be overdrawn. I said, then give me a fucking credit line.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Oh, yeah, you don't qualify for a credit line.
Why? Because you're self-employed?
Yeah, because I'm self-employed. Right. And then like 2 weeks later, I'd come back and then they'd say some other shit like, oh, would you like to apply for a credit line? Or would you like to apply for, a loan or And I'm like, I'm not going to try because you're not going to qualify. Oh, no, you could qualify you. I'm looking at your account and you're bringing in a lot of money. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you should fucking give me money because I'm bringing in a lot of money.
No.
And then they'd be like, oh, but it's kind of weird how, oh, wow. Like, yeah, no, you don't qualify. So it's like this fucking circle.
Totally.
And it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like 1 year I added up all the fees they charged me in 1 year. It was ridiculous, and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I finally just closed all my accounts. But that's the system that it's set up and you're just supposed to go along with it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this bullshit about, oh, well, we have to hold the check.
Oh, yeah.
For 48 hours or a week or whatever it is.
Right.
What's that about, right? Well, of course we know what that's about. That's about that they're banking on it, collecting interest, doing whatever it is they're doing with it. Meanwhile, I'm sweating, You're telling me that so what you're saying, Mr. Banker, is that the technology doesn't exist to validate this check in real time?
Right.
I'm sorry, but I might look stupid, but you know what? I'm not. And that is absolutely insulting to think that. But of course, it's, as you said, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, it's
and yet consumers don't, like, what leverage do you have? Like, at one point in this country, we were supposed to be anti-monopoly. Mm-hmm. Right. Now we are all about monopolies and consolidation and mergers and acquisitions and consolidation.
Right.
And so where do you go when you have a complaint or when you have, when you have a legitimate concern? I know there's a lot of assholes out there that just want to bitch and moan, but I'm just saying, like, there are some legitimate issues, but what can I do? In fact, I actually got inspired the other day about starting another podcast where it's just about people calling in or talking about their fucking horror stories.
Yeah.
So it's like the complaint department as a podcast. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, like, until you start getting social, because that's the only thing that we have right now is like to get some exposure on social about these brands and like how they treat you and what, because they don't want that. They don't want the negative, thing. Yeah. And so anyway, whatever, because you feel helpless, you feel hopeless. Yeah. Like, what can you do?
Right. Back in the day, we used to call David Horowitz. You remember David Horowitz?
I do know that name. Why? He was
But maybe you don't, because that was a California thing. I think he was a guy on Channel 4.
Chicago. I think Chicago had somebody like that. Something he goes and he does an expose or like an investigative.
So you'd call him and then he'd go to the mechanic and be like, "Hey, why did you charge this lady $500 more than you needed to?"
Well, but I'm also, because I'm a stickler for customer service. I am.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't cost you anything to be nice and to use common sense. Yeah. That good favor, that goodwill goes a long way, right?
By the way, what are we? Are we Gen Y or Gen X? What the hell are we?
We're Gen X.
We're Gen X.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying right now,
right?
My son, says Gen Xers are the worst at customer service.
What do you mean? What does he mean at the worst at customer service?
At providing customer service.
That Gen Xers are the worst at providing customer service.
He says if there's a Gen Xer waiter, he's horrible. If there's a Gen Xer behind the counter, he's horrible. If there's a Gen Xer on the phone, it's horrible.
I think he's talking about millennials.
No,
he doesn't realize
he's talking about Gen Xers.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I agree with that. I know for myself.
He always says it. Because so him and his friends must talk about it.
Okay, well,
so there you go.
I think he's just talking shit about old people. But
I think so.
Yeah. But I can be a stickler for customer service because, as a guy that's worked, in marketing and advertising over the years, helping brands think about what they could do to build loyalty and build, trust. And I've always said, great customer service. It's the easiest thing to do. You know, like you don't have to spend millions and millions of dollars on an ad campaign.
Yeah.
Good personal one-on-one interactions that make sense, you know. And there through in my life, there have been these moments where, because I will reward good customer service with a good tip or what have you. Sometimes I will go online and fill out that thing and say great job. If it's really bad, I will definitely do that as well. But one day, but it's funny what catches my attention. So years ago, right? So I moved to LA in 01. Okay. And I lived in Santa Monica. I was at 18th in Montana. And I guess it was like 02 or something. A company called Jawbone came out with the first like Bluetooth earpiece for your phone. Okay. And I'd seen it online somewhere and I was intrigued about it, right? I wanted to go check it out.
Yeah.
So the only place that carried it that I could find on the west side was a Verizon store at the corner of, I want to say it was 26th in Wilshire. I think it was 26th in Wilshire, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was one of those classic LA kind of corner malls, you know, with a bunch of stores. Verizon had the corner retail, the biggest, space in that building, but then there were others. So I pull in to park and there's a guy managing the parking, and I get out and he gives me a ticket and he goes, "Oh, by the way, Verizon doesn't validate." And I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, they're the only company in this building that doesn't validate."
Right.
Well, that was all it took. That's all it took for me to just be like, fuck these guys, But I'm here, right? So I'm going to get the information I want and I came seeking.
Yeah.
So I go in there and, of course, Verizon is bustling, right? There's like a customer service thing. There's a line of people waiting to be served. I go to like the retail thing where they've got the phones and the things. And so the manager comes up. He's kind of helping. He says, "Yeah, I'm here to look at the Jawbone Bluetooth thing." He's like, "Oh, it brings it out." So I check it out. I ask questions, get all the information I want. And I say to him, "Well, this is great. This is exactly what I was hoping for. This is exactly what I want, exactly what I need."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, that's fantastic. Should I ring you up then?" I said, "No, absolutely not. You should not ring me up." And he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't understand." I said, "No, I'm not going to buy this here. I'm going to go to another store and I'm going to buy it at another store." And he looked at me like with the sleeve, "Excuse me, sir?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I refuse to give you my money. You want to know why?" And he said, "Yeah. Was there something I said, something I did?" I said, "Well, actually, yeah, because you guys are the only store in this facility that does not validate parking. You are the biggest, you are the richest and the publicly traded organization, and you don't validate parking. I'm not giving you my money."
Yeah.
And I said, "But thank you for your time." And I turned around and the look on his face. And I mean, to me, that was like nothing. And I'm sure, I'm sure he never forgot it. And he probably talked shit about that, for a while. But like, that's the kind of thing, at least for me, gave me a little bit of satisfaction of like, okay, you know what? Fuck these guys. I'm going to let it be known and be heard. But I'll tell you why they weren't validating, because when I went in there, the fucking line for their customer service was out the fucking door.
Yeah, they don't care.
So well, the thing about it is they don't want to validate the parking tickets for those people because it's taken forever. It's like their customer service sucks, period.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's on and on and on. There's a classic story, Nordstroms, right? The retailer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They built their business from day one on excellent customer service. Their employee handbook was sort of famous. I don't know if it's changed in recent years, but historically the story was that, the handbook had two rules. Number one, use your best judgment in all situations. And number two, there will be no other rules.
Right.
Right? That was the employee handbook, those two things, right? And there was this classic story about this young sales clerk had a customer come in, and the customer needed a tux last minute for something, and whatever. And so the young salesman, they didn't have the guy's size. They didn't have what he was looking for in that store. But the young sales clerk got online, got on the computer, and found that they had exactly what he wanted and needed at this other store.
Yeah.
And so the kid called the other store, had them put it aside. The guy was so grateful, said, "Thank you. I'm going to go get that right now." And so it is over. So the young sales clerk went to his boss and was very proud of what he had done and said, satisfied customer, this is what happened, so on and so forth. And his boss said, not good enough. And the young clerks, what I don't understand, what are you talking about? The customer is very happy. Yeah. And his boss says, you should have had the suit delivered to his house.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just an example of like how you and
then Amazon became,
right. So anyway, the point is that, clearly customer service sucks anymore.
Yeah. I don't even know what to do about that or say about that,
Well, yesterday, I'll give you another example.
Yeah.
Yesterday, my sliding glass door wouldn't shut.
Yeah.
Okay. Like 5 inches from, like shutting. And, I don't know about you, but like I'm okay with a screwdriver. I'm okay with a hammer. I'm okay with a saw. I tried everything. I couldn't get it, to shut. I couldn't figure it out.
Sure.
Call my contractor, can't get a hold of him. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to call the manufacturer, and call the manufacturer. They're like, oh yeah, we have a technician that could come out and look at it, but he can't come until Monday.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like,
so my door will be open all week.
I'm like, sorry, doesn't work.
Right.
Long story short, we figured it out. But it's like, how is that even a conversation?
Right.
How is it? How do they not have a system in place? It's like, we make a product.
Yeah.
That if it doesn't work, people's homes are put in jeopardy. Right. The safety of their children are put in jeopardy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have, I'm sure it's not a chronic issue. So it's not, it's not like they need to have 24/7 service 365 days a year.
Right.
It's just like, no, you just need to have a mechanism that if somebody has an emergency, you can send somebody out within, 8 hours, get it handled,
The problem is you didn't call the right guy.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know who you're supposed to call in a situation like that?
Ghostbusters?
You're in LA.
Who do I call?
You call a Mexican. I'm not saying it's going to get done right. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but that fucking door will be closed.
Oh my God. I love it. I love that. I mean, you're, by the way, you are 100% correct.
I know.
There are so many Mexicans to call in LA.
That's
so
right.
Like you're going to get somebody.
You're going to get someone to come over.
And B, pretty much every Mexican I've ever met knows how to build a house or do something like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right. Not saying it's going to pass code,
right,
to your point.
Right.
But you could live in it. You could sleep in it. You can use it.
I bet you the original MacGyver was Mexican.
Dude. Okay.
I bet you.
So, and I say this with nothing but absolute love, admiration, and awe and respect.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody works harder than a hardworking Mexican. No one.
100%.
No one.
100%.
No one. I have marveled and been in awe of what I have seen, the level of hard work, smart work, creative work out of Mexican Americans.
Yeah.
Or Mexicans, period.
My dad has a saying, when we're fixing something and we don't know what the hell we're doing, but we fix it anyways. My dad's like, that's Mexican style.
Mexican style.
Yeah, I did it Mexican style.
Okay, so break that down for me. Two things. One is break that down for me. Right. What is Mexican style? Okay, because I don't want to leave this to the imagination. Okay, but then the other thing is like, what is it about Mexican culture that makes this so true? Because it's a stereotype. I know we're being we're playing. It's dangerous to play stereotype, but stereotypes are based in truth. So how did that develop? So school me.
Well, I mean, just growing up in a Mexican household and knowing my family and traditions and all that. I mean, I think it comes from a number of things. Number one, when you live in Mexico, the man is the man of the house. I mean, the whole it's
a patriarchal kind of culture.
It's a patriarchal culture.
Yeah.
And the man is always right.
Yep.
And the man's job is to provide.
Yep.
And the man's job is to fix shit.
Yep.
And the man's job is to fucking be a man.
Right.
And there's no other way around it.
Right.
Right. So you're not going to be a man and you're not going to be a man of the house if you got to call someone to come fix something that's fucked up,
So,
my dad is not going to call fucking
La Cantina doors. He's going to fix that shit.
No, he's going to be like, no. Right. He's going to fix it. Right. And then next time he sees them, he's going to tell them, hey, you guys fucked up. You guys don't know how to fix a door.
Yeah.
But he's not going to call them,
right.
Right.
You
don't call, Charter to come fix your satellite or your cable or your wiring or whatever. You just fucking do it, you know? And, yeah. So number one, it just comes from just from pride.
Yes.
So Mexicans are very proud in that, and Mexican men, because it shows that they're more manly than anything else.
Right.
Number one. Number two, in Mexico, customer service? Are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Customer service in Mexico?
Yeah.
When most places in Mexico are still, it's not the United States,
Right.
It's like, if you can get something for half the price, by selling it, down the street at this other spot, they'll do that. If you can create a knockoff that's just as good, they'll do that. If you work at a certain company, but you can make a little bit of cash on the side by, then you'll do that too. So in Mexico, it's just different. People aren't, they have to fend for themselves most of the time.
Right.
And there's still a lot of very rural places in Mexico.
Yes.
I went to Mexico City one time,
Mm-hmm.
and with these graffiti artists, dude, they had a four-story building all to themselves. Okay. Did they pay rent? Not really. They were basically, how many of them were there? The weekend I was there, they were hosting like 100 graffiti artists from different city.
Yeah.
And they were all there just sleeping and whatever.
Camping out.
So apparently they have been squatting for like 6 or 7 years. I'm not kidding. Like a 4-story building all to themselves.
Right.
And they were like, well, we just got to squat for like 3 more years, because once you get to 10 years, it becomes your building.
Nice.
Like by law.
Nice.
Right. So they had like no running water.
Right.
Well, officially they had no running water, no electricity.
Right.
Right. But the guys that I was staying with were on the penthouse. Right. Dude, they had fucking lights. They had fucking internet. They had faster internet than I have here. These dudes were on it, And so that's kind of like the Mexican style, It's just like, hey, we're going to make it work. We're going to figure it out. So, I think that's where it comes from. And also there's a lot of Mexicans just take pride in their work. If it's labor intensive, you don't bitch out. You just do it, and you do it well.
Yep.
And you do it every day.
Yep.
Brings honor to your family.
Yep.
Because you're a hard worker. There's nothing worse than a lazy Mexican.
Right.
Right. Like that's the stereotype.
Yeah.
That Mexican people hate, because
the lazy
Mexican.
Right.
Because Mexicans,
it's so not fucking true.
It's so not true. So yeah, so it's one of those things where I just came from a family where, my dad's always been a hard worker. My dad. Yeah. And
I would want to keep up with him.
No.
Try to keep up with him.
People hate. He worked in the movie studios, and people hated him.
Because he was a hard worker. They didn't want to work so hard.
Dude, they would tell him, you're in the union.
Right.
No one's gonna fire you.
Right.
Like, kick back, relax, chill out. Yeah. He's like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna work.
Yeah.
No. You just take take an extra half hour.
You're making us look bad.
You're making us look bad.
Right.
And my dad was like, fuck you. Wow. You're making me look bad.
You're making yourself look bad.
So my dad always had work.
Right.
Right. But also one time I remember he told me he got hired, and they paid him like double of what he usually got paid, which, is really good anyways.
Right.
Because
you're a painter in Hollywood. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's making good money. Right. And then this guy hires him like at double, like whatever it is, like gang boss rate or whatever the hell that term is. Yeah. And so my dad's making, way more money, and they gave him two sets to take care of. Right. Usually he was in charge of one set. They gave him 2 sets, and they hired like one other guy to help him. They did the whole show, like, 4 or 5 months later, they're wrapping up the show. And the guy comes up to him, like his boss, and is like, I'm the production coordinator is like, yeah, that's why I love working for you. That's why I love you working for me on these big gigs. He's like, because you save me so much money. And my dad was like, what do you mean?
You do the work of 5 men.
Yeah. He told my dad, I usually have to hire 4 fucking guys.
Jeez.
And I just have to hire you.
Wow. That's deep, dude.
So my dad,
that is deep.
My dad got his fucking towel, threw it at him, and said, fuck you. And don't ever call me to work for you ever again. And he fucking left.
Well, good for him. Because that's some deep shit right there. Yeah.
So, and this whole time my dad's thinking, well, I'm making twice what I usually make.
Right.
And this guy's thinking, well, I'm paying half of what I usually pay.
Right. Right.
So that's
So
some of the
pay
shit.
me 5 times and maybe I'll come back.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's a fucking crazy thing because, Mexicans, like I said, like they, pride themselves in working hard, but then there's people who take advantage of that.
Well, you hit on several things, which I think are like, it's so important to keep in mind, right? Because you and I have talked about this so many different levels over the years, but it's like culture is so powerful, right?
Yeah.
And culture is driven by your environment, in many ways. And you touched on like some of the rural aspects of Mexico, for example, right? Like, when you're in a rural setting, well, I don't care what country you're in,
right.
if you're in a rural setting, you're working, and you're working probably without, air conditioning or anything like that. Who knows what the weather is? And that's the other thing, weather.
Yeah.
Mexico's hot.
Most of it. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it, but I guess depending on the altitude or whatever, right? But so, arguably you're working in extreme conditions, weather-wise or whatever.
Right.
And then depending on how, from a socioeconomic perspective, depending on, where you're at financially, you may work more or less. Some countries can't afford the technologies that automate. Therefore, the people have to do the work. In this country, I'm very troubled by the automation that is making human beings redundant.
Yeah.
Why are Americans fat and stupid? Because they can be.
Right.
Is really it.
Right.
Because they can be. And, human beings, I think, are evolutionary biology, like our bodies are made to move. Our bodies are made to do stuff. Our brains are made to do stuff.
Yeah.
And suddenly when you don't have to do things anymore, you atrophy.
Yeah. I was I walked into a Walmart the other day and there was 2 women tellers.
Yeah.
Or cashiers.
Yeah.
2 women cashiers.
Right.
And there was like 15 automated cashiers. One of these women oversaw like 5 of the cashiers, so you go in there and you scan your own shit.
Yeah.
And then they're just there like in case you need help.
Right.
Right. And the other woman was actually taking your stuff and scanning them. Right. And so I told the woman, I said, I bought some stuff, whatever. And then I told the woman, because then I had to bring my own bags, to put the stuff in.
Sure. Yeah.
Or I have to pay for the bags. And then I have to bag my own shit,
Yeah.
And so I told this woman, I go, pretty soon we don't even need you. I'm already bagging my own shit.
Right. Right.
I'm already scanning my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of there watching me. I go, pretty soon they're not going to need you. And she said, well, to be honest, they're already talking about that.
Yeah.
Like they want to get to 100% automated.
Yeah.
And I just thought about that, and it's like, and these people don't get paid that well anyways.
Right.
But even that, like, it's just crazy. Like, you want to get to 100% automation?
Well, Amazon already has these stores.
Yeah.
Maybe you've heard about them, but they've been sort of prototyping them in Seattle,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Piloting them.
Right.
And essentially the store you sign up on your phone, you have an app. The store knows when you're there because you have your phone.
Yeah.
And you just grab the shit you want and you walk out.
Yeah.
And it charges your account. Right. See, look,
Jesus.
I'm not a Luddite, and I don't, and I love technology, and but I'm only an advocate and a cheerleader and a supporter of automation and technology if it serves to make human beings better.
Yeah.
And uplift the human race and doesn't make us redundant.
Yeah.
I feel like people are getting hoodwinked and getting fucking brainwashed,
right,
to celebrate this technology, totally not understanding that it's their lives that are being stolen from them.
Totally.
And I don't understand like why people aren't standing up going, yeah, just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Right.
And I am vehemently against any technology that makes me irrelevant.
Right.
If technology makes human beings irrelevant, then we have to be against that technology.
Well, then we're screwed.
Right?
We're screwed.
We're kind of screwed.
That's where we're going. We're going down that hole. And I think it's almost too late.
I think it is too late.
That's
what's interesting about it.
Yeah.
Because artificial intelligence, And I don't know enough about artificial intelligence to say if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do feel like it's sort of, because what happens is we unleash these technologies and we don't test them. We don't know about them. We don't know how to manage them or regulate them or control them, which is why Facebook fucked our democracy in so many ways. And I don't actually think Facebook fucked our democracy. I think cell phones fucked our democracy. And I could, go into why. But I mean, a healthy democracy requires that you and I talk to each other.
Right.
And that citizens talk to each other and debate and disagree and get to know each other, because then we have empathy and we have compassion and we can understand and we can grow, we can be stronger, we can help each other better. As soon as we stop talking to each other, then that is a cancer to democracy. And people want to point at Facebook, and Facebook doesn't help. But cell phones were the original problem, because as soon as I could be in my silo, in my vacuum, out in the world, on the bus, on the street corner, not having to talk to my fellow citizen, that's when it started breaking down, I think.
Well, just the fact that the other day I went into the, T-Mobile or whatever, or the Apple store, I can't remember. But anyways, I was looking at the new iPhones, and the new iPhones coming out, they're $1,500. A fucking phone is $1,500.
It's a computer.
I could buy a kick-ass laptop for like half of that probably. Yeah. But why is it $1,500? Because people have bought into that shit.
Yeah.
There's no way you could, 15 years ago, if you told someone, "Oh, here's a phone, but it's $1,500," they would have told you to fuck off.
Right.
But now they bought into it, and it's to the point where, like I said, it's too late.
Yeah.
Because people have bought in already. They're in, and so $600, $1,000. What the fuck is $1,500?
Right.
What does the $1,500 phone do that your $300 phone can't do? Nothing, except it's newer and maybe has 2 lenses instead of 1. Take a better picture of your fucking selfie.
The porn looks a lot better on the $1,500 model. Let's be honest.
Oh man, so it's sad, It's definitely sad where we're at with all that technology. Because
look, okay, so let's put this in context, right? Because I'm sure that on some level people were lamenting the advent of the car because they were going to lose the horse. People lamented the television. In fact, there's like a famous quote from somebody when the TV came out, and they said, "Well, this is now," what he said, something about the greatest waste of time, ever in the history of, So it's just interesting to think about, technologies that helped to elevate the human race and technology that helped to dumb it down. Right. And I think some technologies are very good. I mean, like you think about electricity, what electricity brought to humanity.
Right.
But is Facebook a net positive or a net negative or net neutral?
Well, Facebook is funny because, and people are talking about this because the way they set it up, right? It's like Facebook is going to be how you and all your friends could stay in communication.
Yeah,
and it's gonna make you guys more social.
Right.
Obviously, that was the pitch, and people bought into it, and because it did do that for some people, then they bought in 100%, I mean, realistically, it's just a business model, and it's a way for this company to make money off advertising off of you. Yeah. They just figured out how to do it.
But I agree with all that. But like, I have another theory, because, a company like Facebook, for example, and even Google for that matter, but some of these, and Apple's a good example as well. A lot of these companies are made in the image of the founder, right? And what I mean by that is Steve Jobs was Apple and Apple was Steve Jobs, right?
Right.
And when he died, I thought, oh, there goes Apple. And we're seeing that, I think, right?
Right.
And while Steve was, notoriously an asshole for a lot of, reasons, I think ultimately was advocating for his users' best interest on a certain level. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but who knows? Yeah. That's my speculation. But again, Steve clearly had a lot of personal issues, a lot of things that he was grappling with, right? And goes back to some of our previous conversation. A company like Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, right? He drives that ship over there, right? He's, and let's face it, right? A guy like Mark Zuckerberg is brilliant on many metrics. right? But when it comes to life on the street, common sense, a basic humanity, understanding how real people live their lives, what is truly wanted and needed on the street, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have a fucking clue.
No.
I'm just gonna use really like pejorative terms. He's a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
Who probably didn't get laid till he got married or until he could buy some pussy. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a brainiac. But when you're a brainiac like that, you're also a fucking idiot to a lot of things.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can say this also from personal experience. So my cousin, okay, first cousin, brainiac, total fucking genius. Okay. Textbook. Like, you know, he worked at the highest levels of just top secret levels at the Pentagon. He worked in the Star Wars program under the Reagan administration, blah, 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 blah. The guy had his high school prom date set in the back seat. He thought it would be cool to like chauffeur her, you know, or whatever. Okay. I love my cousin. Yeah. He's a fucking nerd. You know, he didn't really have a clue. Okay. So the problem is that these guys, and many of them, and I know there are exceptions to the rule. I'm not, you know, painting, I'm trying not to paint with a broad brush, but certain leaders, certain entrepreneurs, certain powerful people are building these companies in their own image based on their own ego, based on their own issues.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem. If there isn't someone to help mitigate that, balance that, you know, manage that, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that, you know, say nothing of the fact that even if you were the most well-balanced, well-adjusted person, if you became a billionaire tomorrow, it would still skew your thinking. I mean, there's a reason why, we've talked about this before, but there's a, you know, the reason why that old saying about power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yep.
Like these guys are gonna be skewed and they're gonna start thinking they're gonna have a God complex. I'm a billionaire, so I must know what's right. I must know what's best.
Right.
You know, a guy like Jeff Bezos, I know he's a smart guy. He's probably a well-rounded guy at the end of the day. I'm guessing he's got a bit of an ego. You know, how is that helping him? Is Amazon good for humanity? It's debatable. It's very debatable. I personally want technology that's good for humanity, you know, a net positive for humanity. So there's peace and there's justice and there's food and water for people. And, you know, people aren't squandering or scraping for their basic needs. Sorry, but if you're living in a world where 2/3 of the planet is just looking for food and water, fuck your technology.
Yeah.
So, you know, and by the way, let's take this to the next thing. You all this Me Too shit. Right. Which, by the way, you know, is to the extent that the karma cops are catching up with these assholes. Great. To the extent that any woman or any man, for that matter, has been sexually raped, harmed, then justice should be served. OK, but you think about I try to think about things, you know, objectively. Right. You think about Harvey Weinstein. Right.
Right.
That guy was hideous looking. OK.
Yeah.
Hideous look. Now, I'm not... Okay, let me back up for a second, okay? We live in a superficial world, right? In many ways, right? Looks matter. Packaging matters, okay?
Right.
And whether or not a person is attractive or not, I mean, that's packaging, right? Some people are packaged to be very desirable. Some people, unfortunately, are not, right? Harvey Weinstein is an ugly motherfucker, okay? Objectively speaking. Okay, I'm not,
right.
I'm just saying, like, I think any objective, rational analysis of Harvey Weinstein would have to come to the logical conclusion the guy's fucking ugly.
Well, no one wakes up saying, you know what? I want to look like Harvey Weinstein.
That's right. Doc, yeah, could you do a nip tuck so that a little plastic surgery so I look just like Harvey Weinstein? My point is this, okay, you have a guy who is unattractive, looks like he looks, right? Can't get laid, can't, you know, whatever. But somehow he gets success. He gets money. He gets power. Right? What do you think he's going to do with that power? What do you think he's going to do with that money? Right? He is going to think that he can do whatever he wants to do. And it's no wonder he became a sexual predator. Right? You know, and so we start thinking about, like, I don't know that we're thinking about really like some of the core drivers, like how Harvey Weinstein becomes Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, but see, I don't agree with that. I don't think he became a sexual predator.
You think he was a sexual predator from day one?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Just he didn't have access, you know? If that were true, then you could say the same thing about gay people. oh, he became gay because of this. It's like, you're born that way or developed that way, or somebody who's doing shit like that, like, some fucking being a sexual predator isn't something that you just fucking wake up one day and be like, you know what, I'm going to do that,
Well, but I think it's an evolution.
Yeah, it is an evolution. But
go ahead. Sorry.
But I don't think him having the power and the money made him that. I think maybe he was doing it. It
exasperated. No, you're 100% right, because that's the point I'm making. Right.
Okay.
The point I'm making is that, unfortunately for Harvey, he was born with that face.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure he tried to mac to the ladies and whatever, and they're like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Right. So he's bitter. He's mad. But then he gets some money. He gets some power. Right. And he then starts seeing how he can leverage this money and power to take advantage of these young starlets or whoever wants something from him. Mm-hmm. And so, he became a sexual predator. And the money and the power was throwing gas on a fire. Right.
Yeah.
It didn't make, to your point, it didn't make him a predator. He was already angry. It was already brewing. My bigger point is this. I want to make sure I make this point, because it's not about the looks. What it is about is, unfortunately, we live in a culture that in this country where we are dysfunctional around sex in this country. We are dysfunctional around, this country was founded by Puritans, right? Who were, religious fanatics who were too extreme for their home country. So they came here and committed genocide and murder and rape, pillage, and plunder to take this country from the indigenous people that were here, rightful owners. The point is that sex, in my view, is a natural human fact of life meant to procreate and then also give pleasure, so on and so forth. And yet we live in a culture that's very sexually repressed. So it's a bomb waiting to go off, because you have a culture that doesn't really want to talk about sex in a real way, educating kids and helping kids manage sex, both as a boy who is probably going to be aggressive, trying to spread his seed, and girls that are going to be reluctant to take just anyone as their lover. You have a very potent primal urge that's natural, that we're not educating kids around to handle and communicate with in a real way.
Yeah.
And then you layer in the superficiality that comes with the packaging of how a person looks and is that person attractive or not. And we live in a world where if you don't look like somebody on a magazine cover, whatever, you might think you're ugly, even if you're not. But a guy like Harvey, definitely not an attractive human being.
Right.
So then, so who knows what kind of world he grew up in? Did his parents teach him about sex? Did his parents teach him about how to deal with human beings and interact with people and be human and be empathetic and be compassionate? Maybe not. Probably not. Then you layer in the fact that the poor guy, has an ugly mug and, no girls are going to talk to him. Then you give him a bunch of money.
Right.
And power. That can't end well.
Right.
And it didn't, at least in his case. Say nothing of I don't mean to jump all over, but what the fuck happened with fucking Dr. Huxtable?
Yeah, Bill Cosby. I was going to bring that up too. But here's another thing, going back to your Harvey Weinstein thing. Maybe that was his drive. Maybe he wouldn't have been so successful if he looked good and and had a good upbringing. Maybe that was part of his drive, is that he was like, I'm going to show these fuckers. I'm
sure you're right. I'm sure you're right.
So it's just like, oh man, I don't know. It's so complicated.
It is complicated. It's absolutely complicated.
Bill Cosby, funny guy. Always looked. Anytime you saw an interview with him or whatever, like especially back in the day, like he looked like a stand-up guy, whatever, and then only to find out all this other shit about him. It's like, well, what do we really know? Do we really know people?
Right.
Just by how they act in public,
Right. Well, we don't. And, and I guess part of the reason that it's got me thinking about all this too, is that being the father of two young children, right? Now, I adopted both my kids, as you know.
Yeah.
And we adopted based on criteria that had everything to do with health. Mm-hmm. Like we wanted healthy babies. We were trying to find birth moms that were healthy, not on drugs, so on and so forth. And, we were able to adopt our daughter and adopt our son. Turns out my son and daughter are very cute. they're damn cute.
Yeah,
and I'm not, I'm not saying that out of like objectively, they are good looking kids.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking about like the luck of the draw, like the randomness that those two kids got lucky enough to be born with cute faces. Mm-hmm. Okay.
They could have looked like you.
They could have looked like me, and that would have been fucking. That's a disaster. I have the face for radio. My point is that now their lot in life is going to be that much easier because when they walk in the room, it's disarming because they're pleasant to look at. Versus if they had been born not attractive, they walk in a room and already the cards are stacked against them. I'm just saying it's a basic fact of life. It's reality of human relations, sadly,
right.
But I think this happens in all the animals, right? Like, I mean, how does one tiger decide to mate with another tiger? Like sometimes it's a battle of wills. Like that tiger had, or the gorillas or apes or whatever, they have to fight the other men. The strongest and the toughest is the one that the woman's going to mate with. Yeah, right. It's very, very
alpha.
Yeah, well, it's very instinctual because they want the species to continue. So I think we come by this stuff naturally. It is a very biological thing. It's very primal and evolutionary, but then we make it worse because we don't want to talk about sex to our kids and we don't want to educate them. We live in this crazy world where if you don't look a certain, so I don't know. It's just, yeah.
We shouldn't have brains. That's what it should be. That's our problem. We have brains. That's what fucked us up.
Oh my God. Brains. I tell you what, well, my wife tells me I don't have a brain, half the time, so maybe that's why I'm good. I don't have a brain.
See, that's a solution. Don't have a brain.
Well, look, we're about out of time here. I want to shout out to our listeners and remind them that we love their love. We love their social media love. Please follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast, even if you don't listen to it. We like those numbers.
What is our Instagram?
At Not Real Art Official. At Not Real Art Official. It's our Instagram. Our website is notrealart.com. You can get to the podcast that way and subscribe. You can also find it wherever you get your podcasts. Please remember to like and comment and share. Talk shit. But speaking of talking shit, I guess we've talked a lot of shit. So let's sign off and let our listeners go do something way more beneficial.
Let them go use their brains now.
That's right. Although you just said their problem is that they have a brain.
Oh, yeah, it is. We'll talk about that more.
All right, Man One. Good seeing you, my friend.
Go for it.
Cheers.
Peace.
Peace.